All right. Good Monday morning, everyone. This is, I think, the last Monday before Christmas. So that's exciting. We are live here at our Monday morning meeting, JD's Realty and Auction. If you want to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, you'll get notifications when we go live to do our little classes. This morning, we're going to talk about Mid-Century Modern, and I thought it was something important that we touch on so everyone gets a better idea of what the style actually is. I feel like a lot of times people will kind of lump furniture that happens to have been made in the middle of the century into this category simply because it was made in the 50s or 60s, but really it is a specific design style that was popular during that time and was given the name Mid-Century Modern as an actual design style. It's a really, really beautiful design aesthetic. It's super simple with just clean lines. I had the pleasure of cataloging an estate back in March of 2020 with one of our colleagues that used to work here, Carly. We did the, how did you say the last name? The Wegmar estate? No, that's the one you guys just said. Vaslo, the Vaslo estate. That was an amazing estate. If you guys look back in our past auctions, you can see some really, really nice examples of mid-century modern furniture. And this furniture was actually branded with the maker's name, the designer name. So that's one thing you guys will want to look for when you come across a piece that might look like this chair that's in this image right up here, is to look for an actual branded, like burned into the wood name of the designer. The one that the designer that we were looking at was Hans J. Wegner was the designer. There are many other names. The most popular or the biggest area where this came out of was Danish countries. So you'll see this called Danish designer furniture a lot of times. And are you ready, Jason, for me to formally begin? Okay. So this is Mid-Century Modern, a modern aesthetic for a post-war world. The birth of Mid-Century Modern came in with a boom. Mid-Century Modern was born in a post-war world where people looked for clean, simple lines and design that would reflect the modern mechanized world that had emerged after the end of the Second World War. And you guys have done a lot of these design classes. You probably have noticed that a lot of these design aesthetics come out of the post-war world and people wanting a change from what they had before and being exposed to new cultures through that exchange of war. Unfortunately, it's one of maybe the few positive sides that comes out of war. The resulting designs were most often made of teak wood and had smooth, angular lines. Mid-century modern design is rooted in functionality, clean lines, and simplicity, which reflected the world at the time. Designer Amanda Thompson explains, homes were more linear, focused on maintaining a nuclear family unit, and as such, the furniture designed echoed this environment. This was in direct opposition to the frilly, ornate design aesthetics of the previous decades that saw the Victorian, Eastlake, Gothic, Art Nouveau, and Art Deco movements. Excuse me. The furniture that was designed to fill these new modern ideals was straightforward and without frills and ornate detailing, as we said. Functionality and simplicity of design was in rebellion to the previous eras of design and seen as far away for families to more seen as a way for families to more organically live and experience their homes. One key characteristic is that most often furnishings were made, as I said, of teak wood. Teak was preferred for its richness in color and durability, says designer Rutsit Andretti. He explains that rosewood and oak were other commonly used woods, but in most cases, sorry, I cannot talk today. Pieces like tables, desks, and storage cabinets were made from these other wood types. While richly colored woods were preferred, materials were critical to mid-century modern design. And we saw a lot of wood, metal, glass, and vinyl often used in tension with one another to create a unique look. These materials were often used to create finishings with curved shapes. And the famous Eames chair pictured to the left is an example of this design. So you've got the wood base that curves around the bottom, juxtapositioned with the leather chair of the top, and then the metal frame at the bottom of the feet. Other unique shapes took hold through curved and almost round sofas, odd-shaped coffee tables, and even geometric shapes that felt angular and clean. Color was also a major component of mid-century style. We saw the use of color in ways we didn't see before, often either as a bold accent or a way to make a piece of furniture stand out singularly in a room. Key elements of mid-century modern decor include furnishings that emphasize function over ornament, lack of ornate frills in favor of simple geometric lines, frequent use of teak, rosewood, and oak, the use of metal, glass, and vinyl, and bold accent colors. At its most basic level, mid-century modern designs are known for juxtapositioning sleek lines, think skinny peg legs on dressers and tables, with organic shapes, using new materials and methods to reimagine traditional pieces. The looks were futuristic, but they weren't a total departure from the past. Mid-century modern, like any era of design, evolved. The 1939's World's Fair in New York City had brought the geometric forms and clean lines of the Bauhaus and Danish modernist movements into the American consciousness. But the style didn't really take shape until the late 1940s, lasting well through the 1960s. At the time, American style was about embracing the future. It was the era of Sputnik, of the astronauts hurtling into space, of the Eisenhower administration giving way to the Kennedys of Camelot, of the Twilight Zone and the Jetsons. Because bent plywood, fiberglass, foam, aluminum, steel, and plastic laminates were all malleable, Euro-Serenian was able to mold the rounded contours and pedestals for the tulip chair and table he designed in 1956. And to sculpt his futuristic ball chair in 1965. But rather than cover up the industrial materials with layer of batting and fabrics, they never tried to disguise it as something else. A plywood chair, for example, celebrated the shapes that could be created with the material, and Warren Planter's elegant dining chair make no secret of the fact that it's made from steel rods. American-based modernists loved industrial materials and the efficiency of mass production, while their counterparts in Scandinavia were dedicated to the long-standing tradition of crafting their chairs and tables out of natural elements like wood and leather, favoring the handmade to the mechanical process. The result was exquisitely made pieces that were celebrated as much for their quality as for their simplified modern forms. Think Hans Wegner's wishbone chair or Alvar Aalto's gently curving birch and beechwood chair. Okay, so these are some pieces that I have seen sort of categorized as mid-century modern. And again, while they were made in that time, they aren't the style. So this piece up here is what's called mid-century brutalist. While you still have the angular curving lines, there's a lot more going on with that. So mid-century, aka something that was produced in the middle of the 20th century, does not automatically equal mid-century modern. Mid-century modern is a design movement or aesthetic with specific characteristics. And saying a piece is mid-century just means it dates to the 1940s to 60s, not that it's mid-century modern school of design. And certainly nothing from the 70s and beyond, unless it's made in the style of. And in that case, you would want to say mid-century modern style, if it's something that was made by a modern producer to look like it was made from that time. And that is it for today. Thank you very much.
Any questions?